Yeah, I bet you didn't expect that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the ThoseMovieDudes podcast, where we're here to talk about movie news, new releases, first-time watches, and finish it off with a little mainstream trivia. I'm gonna bring down that volume a little bit. It's kind of loud, Ducky. My goodness. God, you know what? That's why we need a real producer here. Oh yeah, welcome back. I'm gonna bring in my fellow dudes, Nate and Spencer. Welcome to the show, fellas. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, okay, I'm back. I lose connection every time we start. For some reason, it just immediately went to buffering on you guys. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I'm in my settings, trying to figure out how to switch it back to Thunderbolt. Oh my god.
Is there something weird where it's like, when I'm talking, you can't hear me, right? So if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna bring in my fellow dudes, blah blah blah, I'm expecting you to bring you guys in, but then you can't hear me anyway, right?
Which is weird because it's just the last couple of times when I've hit record, I just immediately just start buffering. I'm like, oh, awesome. And all of a sudden, I'm just queued in. So it worked out.
Yeah, and when I was making out with Mr. Freeze, it was buffering as well, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's going on, guys? Happy October 1st. Happy Spooktober, if I may.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm so giddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is very giddy. You guys excited to talk about horror movies for the next 4 weeks? Yeah. Technically 4 weeks, but 2 weeks of actual shows. So
I think we might have 3 episodes coming out in October. 1, 2. Yeah, we have 3. We have an episode coming out on October 30th. That's gonna be
it's like getting an extra paycheck,
Exactly.
You know
Yes, I mean? an extra little horror movie to throw on to the mix.
That means I get to pick one. Sorry.
Well, yeah, you're next week, and then it's back to me.
Am I next? Oh yeah, because we did Nate's movie last episode. Cool. Well,
no, wait. Actually, sorry, I got that backwards. No, Nate's actually picking after tonight, and then that's going to be his next episode. His picks. So you will be the 30th. Yes.
I can't wait. I have no idea what I'm going to pick. But if you guys would like to follow us, which you should if you're watching this, you should definitely follow us on our social medias. It's going to be at ThoseMovieDudes on Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, and Twitch. If we ever decide to go over and do an actual live show over there, might as well have the notifications on in case we do go live. Right? You never know.
Yeah.
Turn those post notifications on YouTube. That way you know when we post our episodes. You can watch them immediately on Monday mornings every other week. And feel free, if you guys would like to have us answer any movie-related questions or anything about your personal life, DM us on Instagram, and we will do our best to give our advice.
Maybe that'll be one of the live streams if we get a lot of personal questions. Yeah,
nothing movie related at all. I just want to help you live your lives.
Hey, those movie dudes. My parents have been fighting a lot recently.
Of course, it's marital drama. Of course, it is.
It has to be. Yeah,
we'd probably be great at answering those questions.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Well, we appreciate you. But yeah, with all that said and done, with all that out of the way, why don't we move on to our very first segment of the show?
This is movie news.
News.
Oh, you're a little early on that one.
It actually glitched a little bit in my head, so I could have been anyway. So yeah, the segment where typically we would talk about movie news. This is where I kind of throw it to little Ducky over there, Spence. If there is actually any news to talk about other than Taylor Swift.
No Taylor Swift news here on Those Movie Dudes. But I guess the biggest news is that the writer's strike is over, so that's cool. I guess.
Is it actually?
The writer's strike is, I think, officially over, but SAG is still going on, so actors can still not promote their movies. But I think they're meeting for more negotiations tomorrow. So,
well, we don't SAG need the actors. We have AI.
Everything will be back to normal. But I'm actually kind of enjoying keeping things a little bit light and just asking you guys some movie questions to kind of break the ice a little bit. And because it is Spooktober, and we like to talk about some horror movies, Nate and I actually did a podcast episode a couple weeks ago where we gave our top 5 Spooktober picks that we think that you guys should go and watch this month. And John was not a part of that episode. He was traveling. So I will ask John, recommend a horror movie for Spooktober.
For Spooktober, me being probably the lowest on the totem pole in terms of horror movie appreciation. However, there are some horror movies that I really like, and I did watch your episode while pooping, so I'm trying to not include anything that you guys
It's a
mentioned.
long poop.
Not
Very long
well.
poop.
I watched the important. I skipped around. No, but maybe you'll laugh at this one. I don't know if it's actually that great, but I remember watching this and really liking it. 1408. That's a song. Maybe it's not good on the
Okay.
critical scale, but I remember the first time watching this, really liked it. I don't think I've seen it since, but it's very claustrophobic because he's stuck in that room. It's almost like an old boy-esque type situation. With what's his name? That actor? What's that guy's name?
John Cusack.
John Cusack.
I almost said Joan
John
Cusack.
It is,
Wait
yeah.
a minute.
Joan
Joan
Cusack's in it.
Different movie.
It's a Stephen King thing. There's a key involved on the poster, and yeah,
Samuel L. Jackson.
1408. Samuel L. Jackson is kind of messing with him and stuff. He's a writer. He's trying to write a book, but he's stuck in that room. So, yeah, we did a skit on it back in high school. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, that's right. Completely
In
forgot
your
about that.
parents' bed, actually.
Yep. Yep. You guys cannot go and check that out.
Don't
on
think too
YouTube.
far into it. Don't
Unlisted,
think too far
yeah.
into that. It's not what you think. But yeah, that's
Okay.
solid.
I've only seen that once, but I remember liking it a fair amount. I mean,
What is
yeah,
this
it's
with this
Stephen
house?
King. It's pretty
I have no
twisty,
idea.
pretty creepy at times.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
I saw it a long time ago, a very long time ago. I don't remember much about it. I just remember like a scene with them waving, and then there being a revelation at that point where he's like waving out a window.
I feel like that movie has a ton of just jump scares, like especially with the music that just like intensifies at that moment. I feel like it has a ton of those, but I could be thinking of a different horror movie. So I don't know, but
It
okay.
has an 80% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So for some reason thought that like 2012 Jonathan liked a really bad movie, which is pretty typical, but it says otherwise on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's the not as good Stephen King Hotel adaptation, but still good.
Yeah, I liked it more than Secret Window. I'll say that. All right, so 1408, that's what you're going to recommend. Now I'll just throw it over to a different question, since you guys can go listen to our podcast on the top 5 horror movies that we think you should watch. The next question I have for you guys is, what horror subgenre scares you the most? Because we watched The Wailing for tonight's first time watch for Spooktober, and that movie plays with a lot of different horror genres. You have like demonic possession, you have zombies, you have ghosts, you have a whole bunch of different horror stuff. So what horror subgenre scares you the most?
I will say it doesn't necessarily scare me the most, but makes me the most uncomfortable. And it's anything to do with body horror. Like what was that movie that came out that was by David Cronenberg's son or something last year?
Possessor.
Well, he did Infinity Pool and he did Possessor. Infinity Pool was this
Thinking
year.
of another one.
Crimes of the Future was David Cronenberg.
Oh, that was actually David
Yeah.
Cronenberg. That's
Yes,
the
it
one
was.
that, I mean, Infinity Pool had some body horror too, but anything like that, like not Cannibal Holocaust, Green Inferno.
Yep.
Where it's just like people are eating their friends, and it makes me want to just puke. There was a little bit in this movie as well. There's like one scene where I was like, but I can't look past it. It always bothers me, even though I know it's like the fakest thing ever. I don't know. It takes me out of it a little bit, even though yes, it's accomplishing what it set out to do. It's like, oh, I want to make these people feel like gross. It's like, you did it. Good job.
No, I will never forget going and seeing the Green Inferno with, I think, all of you guys and a couple others, and you literally stood up and like left the
Walked
theater
out.
at one point. You had to like do some laps, and you were holding your mouth. You were just
Couldn't
like
do it,
so
man.
disturbed. And I think Nate was like cheering and clapping. But
polar opposites.
This movie made John go. He left the theater.
A+ for that.
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
Me, mine's kind of silly because I've seen a lot of horror movies, and even the bad versions of these movies scare me. It's any sort of POV found footage, just because. Just because when it's in the POV, it's literally your point of view, and so you're kind of experiencing it as the person holding the camera. And it could be a terrible movie. Like, do you guys remember a movie that came out a few years back called The Devil's Due? It's like some
Wow.
weird found. Yeah, that movie's really bad, but it had moments that scared the crap out of me. Just something about a POV camera going into a dark room and you can't see, and then something jumps out. It's like, yeah, no, I'll watch it. I used to do the trick where I would like use my peripheral and look at the bottom of the screen. It's like, oh, I'm watching it, but now I've kind of gotten away with that.
I do this. I love it.
Nah.
I'm in the theater in like the second row with like, I'm like 28 years old. I'm like, oh no, I literally do that.
That's what
I force
like.
myself to watch it. I force myself. I'll go. Like when I was watching Skinamarink, I was like, don't look away. Don't look away.
And then nothing happens. Yeah.
And like there's a point
hilarious.
at the very, very end of that movie where nothing even like really happens, but I'm staring at the middle of the screen, like waiting for something to happen, and it just doesn't. But
yeah,
it still scared the crap out of me.
I usually, if I'm wearing a hood, I'll put my hood up and like kind of like lower the hood just a little at my eyes and just kind of like sink down in the seat. I'll do that sometimes, or I will stare
We're all
at, like,
guilty of
the
it.
bottom left or right corner of the screen,
Yeah.
and just kind of like wait. And then once something happens, I'll like look really quickly. I don't know. It doesn't happen too
I
often
watched
anymore,
it.
but I can catch myself. Like Talk to Me did that. I did that during Talk to Me at one point, where I literally was like, okay, I'm going to start kind of looking down towards the bottom of the screen here. This is a little scary. But
Honestly,
with the woman
Nun,
in the
too.
bedroom, that happened.
oh yeah,
to me.
I
I
think
was
that
like,
might have been the scene, to be honest. For me, a horror subgenre, I would say ghosts, because of the Sixth Sense. Just like they can be lurking anywhere, and they're always just like standing still, staring straight at you through a window or something. No thanks, hard pass. Every time that happens in a movie, it could be the cheesiest, laziest jump scare ever. It'll still be like, I did not like that at all. But I have another weird like niche one where like it's not even in horror movies, although they do it a lot. But if they're out in the open water in the ocean and the camera's just at like the surface level, and it's just kind of dipping down and waves are crashing over it and stuff like that. And I hate that so much. Like I've played a few video games where you're forced to do that. I'm like, I can't. I just look at the controller and just go forward. Hate it.
That's
so
why
much.
Sea of Thieves
Like,
freaked
Sea of
me
Thieves.
out.
Yes.
Oh my god, no, thank you.
Yeah, I
That
can catch
open water,
myself
man.
getting a little freaked out there, but it's not really a subgenre. But okay, that's just that was my questions.
Hey, if you
All
find it horrifying, then I'll consider that maybe a sub genre. You know,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a monster
same.
film technically with a shark.
Right.
But,
Anyways,
yeah.
that is those were my questions. Although one was just to John, but
Did we answer two? Oh, I answered one, and
you answered
we
one.
all
I have
answered
another
one.
one. We can go really
Ooh.
quick. It was just
Yeah.
who's your favorite horror director?
Oh my goodness!
Because you
That's
have a
a
lot
good
of
question.
people working now.
That's a really
I'll
good
do a
question.
quick answer.
I guess as long as they've made 2 horror films, nah. I guess as long as they've done one, I'll make it easy for you guys. They can do one.
Okay. I'm going with Mike Flanagan, at least right now. Like, I know that I'm leaving out a lot of other obvious ones, but just like currently, I feel like everything he puts out, I'm like, I gotta watch that. Whether it's the Netflix TV series or didn't he do Oculus and
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep, which
Hush.
I need to rewatch that. And Hush was like a very unique horror film with the deaf woman and the home invasion. So I think he's a smart horror director with everything he does. It's kind of like building tension, and it's not just like in your face. It's like genuine terror. So I really appreciate his directing stuff.
He's got a new TV show coming out on Netflix this Friday.
You know what? I didn't watch his most recent one with the kids, like that.
Oh, I skipped that too. Well, he directed the first episode, then, or maybe the first 2, and then other directors came in.
I think
he
that's
did that
all I
with Blind
watched.
Manor as
I
well.
watched the first 2 and then stopped.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a fantastic director working today. Just don't watch Absentia. Yeah, don't bring that up. Don't bring that up.
No.
Yeah, we'll be here all night.
But Nate,
Yeah,
who's
don't-
your favorite horror director?
I am gonna go with someone who is no longer with us. I'm going with good old Wes Craven. Just
enough.
a guy whose career spanned 40 years. He's been able to sell me on horror movies in 3 different decades for me. So like Last House on the Left in the 70s, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. he did a bunch of other different horror movies, but he's just one of those ones that really took the genre and molded it into something that people are now using today. And just a lot of like he took the serial killer genre and made it mythical with the Freddy Kruegers, and really made slashers funny with Scream. But then like with Last House on the Left is one of the most cults banned movies ever. And it all came from him. So I would say Wes Craven. He's definitely left his mark on the genre.
Okay, good pick. I'm going to challenge myself and just try to pick someone that is working today. And if he was announced to make another horror movie right now, I'd be so excited. And Jordan Peele.
Bingo.
That's a good choice.
I will go see anything that he does, and I think he's going to stay in the horror genre because he blends a whole bunch of genres into his movies, and as long as they're scary, which they are, I'm all for it. So Jordan
If you're
Peele.
ranking his movies, what do you got? How you ranking them?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It might be controversial, but I'm actually going to go with Us at the top, then Get Out, then Nope.
Okay.
Same. That's my 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
just because like Nope, I really liked it, but there was something about Us and Get Out that just was it was just creepy. And Nope was creepy, but then when it went to the more adventure side of it, there's more fun to it.
Yeah.
Us and Get Out weren't necessarily there was fun moments, but there's just something different. But Us was just, I thought the more I watched it, the more I was like, oh, yes,
and
I love this
I've
movie.
seen Nope the most out of all of his movies too. And I've seen them all at least twice, but Nope I've seen at least 3, maybe 3.5 times. And I still love all of them, but I guess that's the order I'd go in. What about you?
They're all so close where I'm basically nitpicking, or I'm just based on the fact that I've only seen Us one time or maybe twice. So I have Get Out, Nope, and then Us because I need to see it again. But they're all like a 4 out of 5, 4.5, 5 out of 5. Like they're all really good. So
that's why I'd go with him.
Cool.
Right. Do you want to do new releases first or first time watch?
I moved it to first time watch. That way we can end it with new releases because there's 3 of them. But yeah, why don't we talk about The Wailing?
First time watchers, are you watching with us? We're those movie dudes, and we about to discuss another movie that we've never seen. So grab some popcorn and pull up a seat.
What's in that jar?
It's the face he makes when he's doing it.
That's me in the theater. Whenever I have popcorn, whenever they hand it to me at the counter, I'm like, thanks. Then I know you have A-list, but you can't just stare at us seductively.
Stick your hands far down, just grab a handful and walk.
I'm gonna need a little bit more. But yeah, this is first time watches, the segment where one of us picks a movie, we all vote on it. Well, there's 3 of them. One of them wins. We ended up watching one of those movies this week, being Spencer's choice, and that being the 2016 horror South Korean film, The Wailing.
Oh boy, yes sir. We watched The Wailing.
How about that?
This has been a movie that has been on my watch list for years. Ever since it came out, I think it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2016, and people were like, "Yeah, this is incredible. It's long. There's a lot to it. Plays with a lot of different horror genres. It's funny. It's creepy. It's scary. All the things. I just heard great stuff. So I've been wanting to watch it, and I think it's failed in maybe 3 other Spooktober polls over the years. We've been trying to put this on to watch for the podcast, and finally had the opportunity to pick it, and that's why I went with The Wailing.
The Wailing.
Yeah. So if you don't know anything about The Wailing, it's a South Korean film. It came out in 2016. A stranger arrives in a little village, and soon after, a mysterious sickness starts spreading. A policeman is drawn into the incident and is forced to solve the mystery in order to save his daughter. That's the basic gist of the movie, but this movie is 2 hours and 36 minutes. It is a long movie. There is a lot to it. It's dense. It's very dense. I did not expect how many themes were going to be into this movie and how many days I was going to be thinking about this afterwards. But yeah, we watched The Wailing. So right out of the gate, I'll just say I liked it a lot. I was overwhelmed by it, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since. That's what I'll start with.
Okay.
I want to hear Nate before I dive in and rip this movie apart. No, I'm just kidding. But I do want to hear Nate first.
So I knew about this movie a lot because, of course, it's been picked a lot of times and it hasn't won. So I think going into it, it got me really excited that it finally did win. And all I'll say before we start is I was a tiny bit disappointed. And I think a lot of it just had to do with the length. And I have nothing against 2.5+ hour movies. I just think it kind of dragged in some points. There were some characters that were kind of unnecessary and just a lot of it. And it was a lot funnier than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be like this is nothing related, but like a Prisoners type thriller, but in Korea. So, but yeah, I'll just say I was a little disappointed, but nonetheless, it still had a lot of things about it, which I was like, okay, I'm on board with this. Like, I'll give it a shot.
I think that movies that have a little bit of like investigation in them have the potential of getting bogged down with just kind of like too much investigation and less like action to kind of just tie it all together. Like that Walk Among the Tombstones to Deliver Us from Evil, like movies like that where it's like, let's just get to the point. And I did feel the length of this movie from the moment I realized it was 2 hours and 36 minutes. I was like, oh shit, I better like carve out more of my day for this and make sure I'm ready to watch this movie, which is why I pushed it until yesterday. But I think that it was hyped up a lot. Like Spencer's like, oh man, this keeps losing. Like we got to watch this movie, The Wailing. It's going to be great. South Korea. And like, we have had some good South Korean movies on this podcast that have surprised me. And I do think this one, it just didn't hit me the way that I expected because it does have some of those, we see a lot of demonic possession films. That's really what it comes down to. It's like just another one. But there's more here than that. It's not like, oh, just another possession movie. But
there's way more to it.
Yeah, no, of course.
Which is like honestly to the point. It's like, were they trying to do maybe too much? Like maybe this director was like, I have all these ideas and this is my one chance to make this movie. Fuck it. Let's just throw it all in. But the thing is, and like I 100% agree with you guys. Is like I did feel the length, especially in the middle of the movie. Brooke came downstairs and asked me a question and I had to pause it. And I talked to her, and then when she left, I went to go resume it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I have an hour and 20 minutes left." So like, I thought I was near the end.
Like, the whole movie left.
Okay, let's go. But and like when the movie ended, I was like, "Okay, yeah, that was a lot. It was dense, very long." But the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, "What could have they removed?" And I just was struggling to like figure it out because they did connect almost everything to the finale of the movie, which I was like pretty impressed by because there's so many things going on. With like the Japanese man and with his the police stuff and his home life as well, and there's so much this movie does, but I thought for the most part they pulled it off very well, and there were moments where I was on the edge of my seat, and especially it was one scene in particular where it was the dueling exorcisms, and it was just kind of back and forth between like the shaman and then the Japanese guy, and it was so intense. Like it kept going, and it was just fucking crazy. And then obviously what happens in the third act was the constant like misdirections of like, oh, they're going this way, oh, they're reverse, what the fuck, what are you doing here? Because there's just so many like twists and turns, especially in the third act. And I definitely had to pull up some articles afterwards just to like fully like did I understand that correctly? And for the most part, yes, but there was still so much that probably went over my head that definitely could use for another rewatch. But I still really did enjoy it, and I did really appreciate how funny the movie was at times because I was not expecting it to be funny. And the scene when the daughter came in to like bring clothes to him, and then she was pissed off that she wasn't giving her like the response that she wanted, so she just stares at him and then just farts so loudly. All the police were like, what the fuck? What? And then she just turns around and walks away. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's like, oh, that freaking that kid.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I think the thing that dragged it down for me was there were so many twists and turns. I wasn't sure who to believe, and there was one character that I don't think was explained very well because she was only in it like a couple of times.
Mhm.
You know who I'm talking
the
about?
mysterious
Yeah.
woman. Yeah,
That woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, she shows up, disappears, and then shows back up at the end like, ooh, I'm part of this. And I was like, could have just erased her, I think, and could have kept it with the Japanese man. I just didn't think it was explained as much, like who she was. She just showed up.
I liked it because I did completely forget about her character because she shows up and throws rocks at him at one point and was like, "Oh yeah, I was here when this murder happened," and he's like, "What?" And she is gone. And then she shows back up again when the exorcist guy comes, the priest, and he just starts like bleeding from the nose and the mouth and starts vomiting, and she just appears from the darkness and she's like, "Get out of here!" And that was terrifying. Like that whole scene, the way they shot it and everything, I thought that was like really creepy. And then because that was the point where it's like, wait, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, that's when I got lost. I was like, okay,
Same.
are we
100%.
focusing on the Japanese guy or should I be worried about her? Because
but it definitely increased my interest at that point though. I was like, wait, okay, what's happening? Pay attention here. And then what ultimately did happen was like, oh, that's bleak. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
disturbing.
One of the bleakest endings like
Yes.
I've probably ever seen. It doesn't leave you feeling good at all. It's just
I think there's
very, very dark.
There's a lot of like misdirection in this movie, which does kind of lead to the length getting longer. Because like you guys mentioned, like the crazy scenes with the shaman like puking and all these like scenes where they're trying to like get the devil out of the daughter or whatever. Like there's a lot going on that I feel like is trying to throw the audience off. But if you were to like watch this movie again, knowing the conclusion, like
You'll
I
pick up
did
on
watch
so
some
much.
explain videos, from the very beginning, you're gonna pick up on not only like symbolism, but there's a lot of like shots that didn't really like make sense at the time. But I think after a second watch, you would understand more and maybe appreciate the film more. But that being said, I don't know if I would ever watch this movie again, regardless.
It's
I
So-
would, just
Okay.
because of how I was just not confused, but I just felt lost. I was like, all right, is this guy a danger? Who's really involved? I felt like there was too many cooks in the kitchen to like figure everything out. But I will say when it ended and got to the climax of what was happening, I was sucked in because there's a shot in a cave
That sure
that
is.
I was not expecting to start happening. And then when it did, I went, oh God, this is what I want. Like, this is when it starts to get really intense. And
which is why I like the mysterious woman, because it is like the opposite. And
It's the good and
knowing
evil
what's going to
balance.
happen, if I watch it again, maybe I can pick up on more stuff like that. But yeah,
I
'cause when
just
she
still don't know her part in this. Like, it's
a spoiler if I say it. But yeah,
because like I said, she shows up when that woman gets killed and he like kind of chases her and then she disappears. Then she just pops up and I'm expecting her to be just like a bad omen that something's gonna happen. But
You know how they have
way
like
they-
that the balance of like, hey, this person, it could be a person or a ghost or this and that. Like I feel like she definitely fits one of those more than the other because she's so like ambiguous, like Spencer says, where she just pops up randomly like that. That's very telling to me.
And there
Where
was a
maybe-
shot too that made me feel that way because she like grabs his hand, and the way they reveal that, like you look down and you just see gray. Her face is gray.
Yeah,
And so
she has
that's
like
what
no
I'm kinda-
pigment.
yeah.
But not as creepy as Japanese guy. Just saying. But
Also, they refer to him as Japanese guy in the movie, so I don't want it to
Yeah.
sound like, oh, we're talking about the Japanese guy. Like that's literally what they call him in the movie.
Yeah, I do really want to get into spoilers because I think there's more to talk about, but I do want to remain spoiler free, just because if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. I do think that you should watch it, because there were moments where I got what I needed out of this movie, where I was terrified, I was intrigued, and I was very into it. And I did really like the filmmaking of the movie as well. I thought it looked really good. The performances were excellent. It has one of the best child performances I've ever seen. I mean, the daughter that's being possessed, she has to do some things in this movie that I just was like, how did they direct her? Like, how is she not going to go home after work and just be traumatized? She's a kid, but nevertheless, she pulled it off, and she was incredible. So I do think the performances were fantastic. But I went 4 out of 5 with this. I liked it a lot, but I definitely need to watch it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there with you. I think just because of my interest in these type of films, like it's gonna lose a half star here and there just because of the subject matter. I think that it was very well done. Like from the opening shots, like the cinematography in this movie is fantastic, and it helps tell the story as well. If you look back, I watched a few like found flicks videos. I'm like, oh, interesting. That could be interpreted that way.
All the different murder scenes.
Yeah, like it's brutal, and there's some crazy scenes in this movie, but it was very well done. It's overlong. The child acting was very good. I wouldn't watch it again, but I still think it's definitely it's a fresh movie. It's a very, very good horror movie. So I went 3.5 out of 5.
Oh, okay. That's higher than I thought you were going to go. All right, Nate. What you got?
I am matching John's 3.5, but I am not against rewatching it, because anytime with a movie that's like as heavy as this, it would take a second or third watch to kind of grasp the whole story together, instead of looking at it as all these different things and I'm unsure of how they connect. And I'm sure on a second watch, I'll go, oh, okay, that makes more sense. And I think I'll do what John did and maybe watch some explained videos from people and get their interpretations. Then that way I can apply them to a rewatch and maybe understand it a little more, and maybe bump it up, because I do want this to be a movie that I really enjoy. I'd like to see it at a 4 or 4.5. But it's even though it is long, I can see myself, once I know what's going on, getting sucked into it, because you grow with these characters. And like Spencer said, one of the best child performances, because she has to cuss and just act possessed, and I couldn't imagine it. I get traumatized just pretending to be possessed now. I couldn't imagine doing it at 9 years old.
It was her glares that got me. Like the way she would be like chowing down on all the food in the fridge, and then like her mom would make a noise and she would just like turn slowly and like stare at it. I'm like, fuck that. Like,
yeah.
Fuck out of the house.
Like, oh, you're here.
Yeah. Cool.
Creepy
all right. Yeah.
kids and
But a
horror
very
movies.
good movie. Very, very good movie. Just a little heavy on the first time watch.
For sure. So yeah, go and watch The Wailing. It is streaming on Prime Video, so you guys can go and check it out. And if you do watch it, let us know what you think. Do you like it? Did you hate it? Let us know. Comment down below.
What do you think The Wailing means?
There's a lot of screaming and crying in the movie. That's what I gathered from it.
That's what
There's
I
a few
thought it
times
as.
where the priest is like hitting something into wood, like nailing something into wood. I'm like, oh, he's wailing on it, haha. But no, whatever.
Well, that's kind of like a voodoo doll in a way. Like when he was doing it, it was hurting her, and so there was a lot of just this angry crying. So I would assume that's what the wailing is talking about. It's just so much dread that you would wail.
The word dread, I just instantly think of Hereditary. God.
I think of Judge Dredd.
I wish I could think of that, and hopefully I will next time I hear that word. But yeah, that's gonna do it for first time watches. Let's start with some new releases.
Oh fuck. Oh.
Yeah, man. You know, we're at that age where we need that Pepto every now and then, if you know what I mean.
Just love the audio listeners are like, wait, what? What did that theme song have to do with Pepto-Bismol? Okay, anyways, the creator.
Sponsored by
Nothing at all. Yeah, sponsored by Pepto Bismol. You want to get
Well.
the bad taste out of your mouth of this podcast?
Pepto Bismol. Do you hate what you just watched? Pepto Bismol. All right. Yeah. Well, this is the segment where we're going to talk about some new release movies and our thoughts on those movies, though, because we're those movie dudes. And the first film being The Creator by Gareth Edwards.
You are not enthusiastic at all. Maybe I should do this part.
Maybe you should. Jeez. All right.
The Creator from Gareth Edwards.
Sorry, Mac Jones. I mean, sorry, John David Washington.
He was in the movie.
He was.
Is this the one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt? No, that's the other movie that I liked more. But yeah, The Creator, apparently the greatest sci-fi film of the last 10 years. That was the hype it was getting before I went to the theater. So I was expecting very good things as I sat down in the Dolby Cinemas at AMC, Pembroke Pines in Florida. It is, do you want me to do a synopsis of this? Like, I guess
Yes.
I could.
Sure.
Amid a future war between the human race and the forces of artificial intelligence, Joshua, a hardened ex-special forces agent grieving the disappearance of his wife, is recruited to hunt down and kill the Creator. So it's basically like WALL-E mixed with
Apocalypse
what else?
Now.
Apocalypse Now,
District 9.
Avatar.
I was gonna say there's a lot of Avatar in this. I think just with like one person being on one team and then slowly transitioning to the other team.
Yes. There's a lot of inspiration from a lot of movies in here to create a pretty action-packed and insanely entertaining sci-fi film, in my opinion. I thought that the whole ship that's up there that basically has the ability to kill you at any time was pretty terrifying.
The Nomad, USS Nomad.
The Nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to like it a little bit more than I did, but I think it was insanely good for having an $80 million budget in terms of the special effects in this movie. That was pretty mind-blowing. I just want to know what Spencer thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Didn't love it. And I think it mainly is due to the story. I thought the story was maybe just a little empty, a little hollow when it was all said and done. But I mean, when I was watching it, I was pretty engaged. I do think it was a little too long as well. It was a little repetitive in the structure of like, okay, they move to one location, they get raided. Move to the next location, they get raided. Move to the next location, they get raided. They have to escape. It's like, okay, that constant structure was like, okay, I get it. It's a little bit like a video game. Next mission. But that being said, I still think that visually, this movie is probably one of the best looking movies I've seen this year. The cinematography was out of this world great, and the visual effects mixed in with that were seamless. I think it is a lock for some technical nominations, especially for visual effects and possibly cinematography, because I mean, Greg Fraser was one of the DPs credited for this, and he did Dune, he did the Batman, and he's an up-and-comer, amazing cinematographer. Maybe not up-and-comer, but he's now put on the map. When you see that he's shooting a movie, you get excited. And so technically it all looked amazing, and it was cool, but just, I don't know, the story just, it didn't really connect with me that much. I mean, it's just like you've seen it 100 times before. It's like The Last of Us with a sci-fi twist of like they're on Apocalypse Now and the war and good and take one side versus against the other. And I don't know, it was a bit, we've seen it a ton of times for this crazy original movie, but I still had to go and see it, had to go and support it, and I still really enjoyed it. But yeah, a little empty.
Yeah, it was. There was some times, and it might have had to do with the fact that 45 minutes into this movie, my screen went black and the lights turned on, and I missed like 15 minutes. But then, thankfully, my theater did the right thing, and they went back and restarted it at like 5 minutes before it went black. But you guys know me and my OCD, that can kind of fuck with how I see the movie sometimes. But there were times where I wasn't sure who I'm supposed to be rooting for. Like Allison Janney and her freaking side
Allison
character.
Janney.
I liked her at first, but then I'm like, oh wait, she's not good. Oh, okay. Because it all changes when he goes to get this weapon, because that's kind of what he's recruited to do, is to go secure this weapon and kill the creator, the Nirmata, which like controls all artificial intelligence. And it just, yeah, I can see what Spencer meant with a lot of the, oh, we go somewhere, now we're going to get attacked and we have to escape. And then we have to go get help from somebody. Oh, we get caught, we have to run away again. And that was repetitive, but I thought the score was really subtle and I really, really liked it. But this was also another child performance that was really good for what they were tasked to do, if that makes sense. Just like, because she was so likable, you saw just this innocence, and you knew, and they did a really good job at making her feel human when she's not. And then when everything kind of ties in the end and you realize what she is and what she's a part of and who created it, it does have some good heart to it. But there was just a lot of stuff that was just kind of unnecessary. The whole Allison Janney character probably could have just been scrapped.
Yeah, she got her Oscar. She doesn't need to be in any more movies.
Yeah, she's 9 feet tall and her legs are
exactly
8 feet tall. So like,
right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just in agreement.
But it's a good
across,
movie.
Like it was very entertaining. I ate a whole bucket of popcorn. Like I did. I ate the whole thing and I felt like garbage.
Refilled that cherry Coke. And...
I sure did. I snuck in a beer. Like it was a good movie experience. I do think that the story, it did have good elements. Like it did, like you guys, like there was a good like love story, like the whole kid element. But again, you've seen it all before. It's very entertaining, but I wasn't feeling anything like emotionally. It didn't get to me in any way, shape, or form.
It felt forced a little bit. Like, okay, let's push some tears. Maybe we can get the audience to sympathize. Because that's from the reviews I saw. I was thinking, is this movie going to make me tear up? And when it got to a certain point, I was like, I think they're trying really hard to like get people emotionally invested, and I'm not quite there.
That all being said, though, and I mean, yeah, it does follow some similar story tropes that we've seen 100 times before. But I do think that Gareth Edwards did a really good job of building this world.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this whole world felt so lived in, and it really was like, I'd love to see like more stuff in this world, because I thought he did create this whole universe very, very well. And so it felt kind of like how District 9 felt in that regard, because when you watch District 9, it's like, oh, this feels like a real world that people live in. Like, this is kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, he's made 4 movies, and all 4 movies I've technically really enjoyed, but I think they've all had the same issue with story. I just haven't been like as invested with the story with his movies. He did Rogue One, he did Godzilla, and he did another movie called Monsters. All good movies, but
I love Rogue One.
I gotta watch it again. I don't know. I liked it, but like that's the thing. It's like I don't know. I just didn't love it.
He's good at taking a movie that has like a grandiose concept and then keeping it grounded, because you say the world building is good. This does feel like it's like not too far of a future, like 100 years from now.
It was like 2045 or 2065
and that's
something like that.
And also
that's
like
terrifying to think about. Just the fact that AI can be police. You can literally sign away the copyright to your face.
And that was wild. Yeah,
that's when I was like, oh, I don't want another me coming around. Like, God,
here we are with Face ID though. Like it's not that crazy to perceive this being a reality. So like that alone does make this more of a believable concept to kind of get behind. So there's that. And I do kind of like how they did the beginning where it's like old video, but it's like new tech. I thought that was a cool way to be like, hey, this isn't your universe, but it's another one that could be yours or something like that.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's the creator. I gave it a. I think I ended up giving it a 3.5. I went up to
I
a three
did
and a
as
half.
well.
I was thinking 3, but I went up to 3.5.
Yeah, I
You
went
went 3.5,
3.5
Nate?
as well. I did. Yeah, just
Okay.
because
wow.
I thought it tried really hard to get you emotionally invested, and I wasn't to an extent, but I did like the characters enough to like see their journey through, and kind of just see what happens in the end and what could happen to this world. Because yeah, it felt very real. Just there were still humans, but it was just humans versus human AI together. And there was just a point in the movie I wasn't sure what team I'm on. But then I kind of realized, oh, these humans are assholes. So I'm gonna root for the AI.
There's
So
also
one day,
very,
who knows? We'll all be AIs.
if we're lucky, then we could live forever. But I don't know if I want that at this point. Um,
Yeah, no.
I'm in agreement. I mean, it's I gave it a 4 out of 5. Maybe I liked it a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't sound like it, but I do like sci-fi movies more than some other genres. So yeah, 4 out of 5. So it's solid. I would watch it again on like 4K at home and be like, okay, that was maybe I noticed a few more things I didn't notice the first time.
Yeah.
You know?
That is the one thing though, is like I don't know if I'd ever really want to watch it again. Like now that I've seen it and kind of got the story, I don't feel like this is one that like warrants multiple viewings unless I'm like, oh, I want to go back into that world again. And maybe I will feel
Yeah.
that one day. But
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see like maybe not a spin-off. I don't want them to make a universe out of this, but imagine seeing
no.
how the AI started, almost like a Terminator type of thing, like a
Could be like Dawn of the
pre-creation.
Planet of the Apes, where like, oh, this is how it began in this lab,
Yeah.
and then it got really smart and whatever. It's self-aware.
But
Yeah.
if not, whatever. We got this, and it's a good movie. Just not the greatest, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But speaking of greater films, Flora Son.
Oh boy. Flora Son.
I
Well,
did
John
not
Carney.
see this, so take it away.
Did you see the other one we're talking about?
I
Did we
did.
all-
That one I did, and I'm very excited about that one.
Maybe we okay. Do we want to talk about Flora Son or just let Nate just go in?
Do it real
Go
quick.
for it.
Real
Do it real
quick?
quick
Okay.
right here.
I don't
Every
mind.
year.
I can sit here and entertain myself.
Okay. Every year one of those movies comes out. No, I don't want to be that guy, but it is that genre where it's like Sing Street, Cha Cha Real Smooth, Coda, there's music, there's family drama, there's sadness and a dickhead's divorced dad. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I mean, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's on a laptop. Like, what else could you want? I don't know.
Seriously, yeah.
What's this movie about? Just a quick little jibba jab. For the audience.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize I was gonna get called on here. It's just about a single mom trying to raise her son who is struggling with the law. It takes place in Dublin, and it
Dublin.
has to do with music. She finds a guitar in a trash and was like, "I'm gonna give it to my son," and he's like, "Fuck that, I don't want that." So she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna take guitar lessons from Joseph Gordon-Levitt," and maybe she falls in love along the way. So. It premiered at Sundance. It was a huge hit at Sundance. It's directed by John Carney, and he did Sing Street. He did Begin Again. He did a movie called Once. Very musically driven films that all have a lot of drama. And I think Apple bought it for a huge sum, and it just premiered on Friday. So John and I, we got it like a little screener earlier in the week, and we got to check this out a little early. And yeah, this one is just a very charming little movie. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's very sweet. The first half is a little rocky because they're very flawed characters, and you're like, "Ooh, are we really gonna watch a movie centered around these people? Because they're just not likable whatsoever." But then there's a point in the movie, like a definitive point, between the mother and the son, where it just completely turns, and it's like, "Oh, here we go, finally." And then the rest of the movie is just kind of bliss. It does have one of the worst final shots I've ever seen in a feature film. John and I dissected that the other night, and it is literally the worst shot you'll ever see in a feature-length movie. Because like it's so great, and it's like, oh, like you're so into the moment, and then like the title card comes on and you're like, oh, like, good mood, and then the movie just keeps going and it keeps crossfading to like different shots. We're like, wait, why are you still going? What's going on here? And then it just
it was weird.
It's
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
So
Maybe
weird.
they were
Don't
trying.
know what's going on there. But
Maybe it was like the DP had this idea and they were like, okay, like I guess like the movie's done, but
there's like
sure.
give the shot to second unit.
Half
and
the
we're gonna
crew's
film the
already
main
gone.
stuff.
Like,
yeah,
no,
I
but
don't
it
know. Weird.
it was fine. Like it was a little shaky. I don't think it was like the
And
worst
the
thing
framing was
ever. Like,
off
have
and,
you
like, it
seen
was all
Taken 3?
rolled. Yeah. Anyways, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed it a lot. And if you have Apple Plus, you definitely should put this on. It's just a sweet, charming 97-minute film.
Echo all the points. I don't want to say anything else. I think it's just definitely worth seeing. It's my number 1 of the year right now, just because this is my genre. Maybe another movie like this comes along this year. I feel like there's got to be at least one more that's like, hey, John, I got your number. This is the one. But right now, Flora
I think
Son.
it's this one. Yeah, I don't know about the
It
rest of
might
the year.
be. And I didn't know about this until, on Thursday. You were like, hey, Sing Street director. And I was like, oh my God, no way. So here we go.
That's what I'm here
4.5 out of 5.
All right. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Wow. And what'd you give Wildflower?
2.5 out of 5.
I hate you. You're the worst.
2.5, that's like a C plus.
Half a
3.5, that's like a B plus.
Yeah, it's not good enough. It's more. It's so.
I'd go B plus with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does the last shot, did that bring it down that much?
A little bit.
If you take the last shot out of it, is it at least an A minus? Come on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, then
no,
I'll just.
It was a 5 out of 5.
I've
With
watched
that
it
shot,
twice.
it's now 3.
I've seen this movie twice, and the first half is a little rocky, and that's mainly my issue. But that's it.
Also, the music's so catchy. Like, there's songs that it's gonna be like Begin Again, where it's like Coming Up Roses. I'm gonna have them on my playlist.
The Joseph Gordon-Levitt stuff was super cringe and cheesy, though. I will say there are times.
Is it worse because he's
where
on a
it's like,
laptop?
ooh.
Like,
But yeah, it's cute. It's a cute movie.
yeah. Also, like nobody's Zoom setup looks that nice. I'm sorry, but like he has like
using,
perfect
like, an Alexa Mini.
cinematic lighting. I'm like, what the hell?
That's just a webcam. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Flora Son. But let's move on to a movie much different from Flora Son with none other than Caitlin Dever. No One Will Save You.
Oh.
Little alien film with a girl that doesn't like to go outside, doesn't like to talk to people, but come to find out, she is being stalked by aliens in her little country home.
And speaking of number 1 films of the year, this is directed by Brian Duffield, and he directed your favorite movie of 2020, John, Spontaneous.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah,
A year that
film.
didn't have a lot of good movies. Spontaneous, another small kind of rom-com-y movie with Charlie Plummer. So you can't really go wrong. But yeah, this one's a little different. I'm glad that we all saw it on Hulu. I watched this at my dad's house on a laptop with some LEDs, all the lights down at like 11 o'clock at night. And I couldn't think of a better setting to check this movie out because it was very creepy. It reminded me of a worse film, but one that has stuck with me in terms of some of the imagery, Dark Skies.
Okay.
For obvious reasons. But this is like a movie that's in my opinion like 10 times better than that, because these aliens are very unsettling. The way that it's shot, the way that it's directed, the way that she's alone and already hates dealing with human beings, let alone aliens. Very unsettling movie.
Nate, what do you think of this?
This movie was freaking awesome. I had so much fun. Like once I was after the first 10 or 15 minutes, and I was like, all right, not doing dialogue. I'm totally okay with that. I've seen plenty of silent movies. I'm on board with it. But she's just so good. Like I think she's going to win an Oscar someday, I want to say, because she knows how to lead a movie, and she's maybe 20, 22 years old, something like that. Yeah,
she's really young still.
And she, like, if I didn't know who she was, you'd convince me she was an adult and she owned this house and had this life and everything. But her little dreamland suddenly just isn't. And the way that they handle it, like her hearing something and coming outside and then the door opens. I think the whole sound design with it and the sounds that these aliens make and the way they appear in different situations, like some are small, some are human sized, but I like how they hinted at it with the circle burned in the ground. Like you see that and you're just like, she just kind of waters it with her hose and goes about her day. But the whole time I'm wondering, why is she so alienated from this community? And it takes so long to figure it out. And when they eventually show it, I was a little let down. I was like, oh, that's it. And it was bad, but I wasn't expecting that to be the whole reason why a town hates her. If that makes any sense. Like,
I don't know if the whole town hates her, but just the people that she happened to run into that weren't already like,
well, she's like walking down the street and every person went and watched her. She walked by. And I know that's not just like an acting thing, but like
she's probably been like isolated since that happened. So her coming to town is like a big deal, maybe.
But I just thought it was kind of weak. I was like, oh, that's all it really took. I thought it was like something a little more traumatic.
It was pretty
awfully traumatic.
What happened?
But like they showed it in what, like 30 seconds, like, oh, this happened, and then back to the main story. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but
like
I thought that's how the way they showed it, revealed it. It was kind of like out of like Stranger Things with like the all black room and like the lighting and stuff, and just like the soul people in that room. I thought it was kind of cool. Yeah, I was like, this movie just kind of crept up and was like, oh yeah, this movie's coming out in a couple weeks and it's really good. You guys have to go and watch it. That was like the early reviews because it premiered at a couple of like Fantastic Fest maybe, or just early screenings. And I did not realize that this movie was like no dialogue at all, like going into this. And like halfway through, or it was right after the scene at the police station, I'm like, oh yeah, there isn't any dialogue yet. Like no one said anything. That's weird. So I kept on waiting, like, when's the moment gonna happen? And when it did, it was like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, the movie does go into some weird directions, especially in the third act, that I just wasn't prepared for. But I thought the first half, like of that little alien in the house, and it was just her and that little alien, terrifying. It was so well done. The tension that was built, the sound design, like you said, and the score. The score was really subtle, but also like really, really powerful and really good at times. It was well used, I thought. And yeah, Caitlin Dever is incredible. Like this is easily her best performance for sure. She carries this movie without saying anything. And I think she also is an executive producer of the film. So she kind of helped get it made, which is really, really cool. And yeah, the cinematography was great. It did a lot of things that I've been waiting to see with an alien movie. And this movie kind of checked those boxes for me. So I really appreciate it in that aspect. But I'm not convinced on the third act. I definitely wanted to watch it again. I was trying to do it before the podcast. I didn't end up doing it, but I do want to see it again. So I probably will put it on sometime this month, I think, just to kind of fully get that third act. And just, I don't know, it was very strange, but I really, really liked it. And I liked how they used different aliens too. Like you had the little fucker, you had like the medium-sized fucker, then you have the spider fucker.
You had
it was almost like the creature from A Quiet Place.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Like,
that shot of the spider thing, like sprinting after her as she's like running towards the camera into the house, was so terrifying. And I go into most of these movies without watching trailers anymore because that's how I really enjoy the movie, and I get to kind of just like put anything that I know about the movie just away and just enjoy the movie for how the filmmaker made it. And so when I watched the trailer afterwards, I hated that they showed those sequences of like the spider.
They want to get you in the door.
Yeah, they want you to
the
watch
clicks
the movie for sure.
I'm the same way, dude. I hate watching trailers now, and whenever I see like a trailer for a movie that I'm really excited for in theaters, I'm like, fuck, like that's all the cool shots that I was, I won't have the same effect when I actually watch the movie. But I think that this is a movie that not a lot of people are gonna see, but it's one that you should go out of your way to watch this because you don't get a lot of alien movies that are like good, and you don't get a lot in general. But I think this one it did go out of its way to kind of take inspiration from movies like Signs, Arrival, A Quiet Place, Stranger Things, The World's End, even, which is my least favorite kind of aspect of this movie, where it's kind of like almost like a mind control every now and then. I hate movies that do that, but that's not the biggest part of the film until the end, I guess, which was a strange ending. But it was a scary alien movie. Like it was genuinely like there were some moments like she went to places I didn't expect her to go with the aliens, and that was really cool.
She was a badass.
She
Mhm.
was. She held her own. She did.
There was a shot where she like runs outside of a house, but if you look in the background, like on the roof, you just see the head and then a little bit of eyes, and then it ducks back down, and then you just see these arms come over.
Oh my
I was
god.
like,
Insane.
Okay, yeah, you better start running. But yeah, she was really smart. Like in the car, how she like runs through one side and it gets stuck, and she has a lighter and put 2 and 2 together.
You do love badass female protagonists. You really
but she's
do.
just so good because she doesn't talk and she emotes, and her face is just really good at conveying like panic, but then also like badassery. Like I'm just gonna make that a word. She
I'll allow it.
Yeah, she just rocks it, and I would say probably her best role since Booksmart. But I also liked her a lot in Short Term 12. So
Oh yeah, she's in that.
Oh god,
Yeah.
I
I
haven't
totally
seen
forgot
that in
about that.
10 years. But
The
But she's
director
great.
Brian Duffield, he was making his like press rounds, doing interviews and stuff, and he posted a picture of like one of the pages of his script, and it was the scene where it's like all red and she's frozen, and
Mhm.
like that little fucker's
Up
there.
on the ceiling, like
And the way he wrote that page and like put the words on paper, it pissed off so many screenwriters apparently. Like they just were like, how can you do that? It's so amateurish. But it's so interesting the way he did it. I'm gonna add it to the screen right here. So if you are on the podcast visually, you can see it. But one second here. I gotta do share screen. There we go. Window. So this is how he wrote out the scene. It's not gonna be bigger than that. But like just constant, like she can't move, she can't move, she can't move, she can't move. And then all in like bold, her door is pushed open, the gray is there. And it's just like that's so perfect for an actor to like be able to see that and like visualize it on paper and be like, okay, that's how I'm gonna have to act in the scene.
oh my god.
like it's
Wait,
emphasizing the fact that she cannot. There's nothing she can do. So
Because
like,
there's no dialogue in the
No, there
script. So
isn't.
this is how he wrote the script. So like he made it come to life, which is it's a very different way to do it, but it's very interesting. Like like the blood clot coming out of the mouth, like something's out of its fucking mouth, and it just gets more and more intense.
Wow.
And it's so interesting. So I definitely want to maybe read his script if it ever gets added online, like the full thing, just to see how he does it, just to get different ideas.
I'd love
I
to
don't
see a
know.
BTS of him like directing maybe one of the scenes, like, okay, and now the alien's right in front of your face, and now it's right there. Like that would be just to see that kind of relationship there behind the scenes. But yeah, this movie took me by surprise. Came out of nowhere. Didn't know about it until like the night that you mentioned Aliens, Caitlin Dever. I was like, all right, I'll throw it on. And now it's in my top 10 of the year. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. I thought this was an insanely good alien movie. I know that's a very high grade, but I know that the rewatchability on this is probably very high, kind of like A Quiet Place. Like you just want to, I'll watch that again. So yeah, it's great, really good. Hulu, they had Prey. Now they got this. 2 pretty darn good monster flicks.
Yeah, and I was listening to one of the interviews that Brian Duffield was saying, and they're like, how did you convince 20th Century Studios to basically make this movie with no dialogue? And his answer was like, oh, well, they actually have executives at that studio that are film fans, and they get it, and they want to do different things. I mean, that's why. Remember that movie that came out on Hulu, like called Run with Sarah Paulson?
Yeah.
That was
Like
so
it was
good.
solid. It was a
was
very
very
solid
good.
movie. And then
Mhm.
you had a couple other ones that have come out. What's that? Fresh. That's another one.
Mhm.
That was really, really good.
Some weird ones. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do some different things and they go straight to Hulu now, but at least they're kind of quality. So I went 4 out of 5 with this. Definitely want to watch it again, but like I said, 4.5 or sorry, 4 out of 5 is basically like a B plus A minus to me. So I really, really enjoyed this a lot.
I also gave it a 4 out of 5. It was just it stunned me at how invested I was in her character and her surviving. I think the only reason it isn't higher is just it gets towards the end. It gets a little convoluted with some of the stuff. There's some really dark scenes where you don't really see a whole lot, like when it comes to the aliens and everything. But I liked the ending because it's just so different, and it just makes you think about those scenes with her and these aliens and kind of wonder what actually happened and what was going on outside of the screen that we're not seeing. And she rocks it, and she holds this whole thing together. And she is one of the main reasons to go see this movie. But then also it's just a well-told, unique alien story. And it's just, yeah, Hulu hit it on the head with that one.
Oh,
Honestly, I think all the movies this week got pretty high praise from us. We had No One Will Save You, we had Flora Son, and The Creator. So if you had to rank the 3,
all solid movies for sure. Some, I mean, have some problems, but the thing is, there's still so many other movies that just we didn't talk about that are also currently out right now that you could watch, like the Wes Anderson shorts on Netflix. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, fucking incredible. I had one of the best cinematic experiences of the year this week with the Talking Heads concert film Stop Making Sense. I went and saw that in IMAX. The A24 restored it and released it in IMAX, and it was fucking incredible. So I mean, there's tons of stuff that you can go and watch. You can watch it in theaters, or you can stay at home and watch some stuff on streaming. Because yeah, there's just so much to watch. And like John, you watched a movie called Nowhere last night on Netflix that just came out.
Nowhere. It's a Spanish language film. I watched 2 foreign films yesterday, and the other one being The Wailing, and this one came out of fucking nowhere, and it was awesome. Talk about female protagonists, like literally.
And there's another movie that was on Netflix too that premiered at TIFF called Reptile with Benicio del Toro and Justin Timberlake, and it's worth a watch, even though it's similar to The Wailing in terms of like there's a lot to it. It's bloated, but it's still pretty interesting.
Just like me after a few seltzers, yeah.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone is in it as well. Yeah. So tons of movies to watch, and so many more movies to come out soon. But what I do have to do is kind of backtrack a little bit. That's all the new releases that we are talking. You're not going to do Dumb Money, right? Even though you saw it.
I saw it. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's
cool.
Paul Dano is freaking awesome. Shailene Woodley's great. Seth Rogen loses a lot of money in the movie. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, so that's
in the it's in the trailer, but
so much stuff is out. But we have to figure out what our first time watch is for the next episode, and we are going to Nate's picks for this. So,
First time watchers, are you watching with us? We're those movie dudes, and we about to discuss.
We're about to figure out what we're going to be watching for the next episode. So
we sure are. My bad.
Nate, what are your 3 picks for the next Spooktober podcast that is going to come out on October 16th?
Oh boy.
I have got 1, 2, 3 big picks, very big picks for this next episode. And I hope you guys will agree with me, because the first one is by famous body horror director David Cronenberg. Sorry, John. Videodrome. Probably his most, I would say his most well-known, most famous, definitely the most cult, very body horror. James Woods.
James Woods High.
James Woods High. Debbie Harry from Blondie.
Yeah.
Just a lot of just blood and guts and deformed bodies. The second film is directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It is Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, another classic. And then the third one, John will not be happy with this again, is the Takashi Miike horror film Audition.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what that is.
Audition? It's about a man who lives with his son, and his son goes, "Hey dad, you need to start dating again." And so he kind of holds this fake film audition to like get women to like audition so that he can possibly date one of them. And he eventually finds the love of his life. Or so
that sounds great. What's the problem with that?
Is
Is there more body horror?
Everyone that I've ever heard talk about this movie says the first hour of this movie is a rom-com until it's not.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
I would not look up anything about it.
I've seen Audition. That would be an interesting rewatch for me. That's all I'll say.
So we have Videodrome, Drone, Audition, and what was the middle one? What was the second one?
Bram Stoker's Dracula. I am Dracula.
Man, interesting options here. How do we want to do? Do you just want to shout it out?
Yeah, I'm just gonna verbally vote here. I'm between Videodrome and Dracula because I haven't seen those two. Okay. Just because I haven't seen those two, I've seen Audition. Although that would be a really fun rewatch for me.
I'm okay.
So John, if you look up lists that are like horror movies that you've never seen that you should, like the Wailing's there, and then right above Audition is like always right there, like neck and neck.
Yeah.
But the movie that has been on my watch list longer than anything else is Dracula. I've never seen it. I've looked at that 4K at Bull Moose so many times. I've held it in my hands. I've had it in like a pile, and I've always put it back. So that would be my vote. But I'd go for honestly both the other ones too.
So Nate did not sell Videodrome to me. So, and I don't want to not give him the power of choice at all, but I'm also going to go with Dracula.
I guess we're watching fucking Dracula. That was the one that I was hoping would not win because when I first watched it, I hated it.
Great. That's good. That's great
this
for
is going to be
controversy.
It's backed up on me real good.
Because then now I can be transparent here.
I need to learn to keep my mouth shut, I guess.
I gave Audition 1.5 when I first watched it.
Oh, wow.
I just was so caught off guard with this movie. That's all I'll say.
When did you watch this, though? Like 2012 or?
Probably when we were seniors in college.
So you had some appreciation for film.
I was going to say, I think you watched it before I watched it. And
did we not watch it together? I don't think. Yeah,
I don't think so. No, because I watched it at like 10 o'clock at night once. I think just because I knew how dark it was.
I was having a hard time with it. Anyways,
so Dracula then. What year did this film come out? Because you named actors that I've heard of.
In the 90s, 1992 maybe, something like that.
All right. So it's not like the original like Nosferatu silent film Dracula.
No, but it is. It's like Victorian Dracula. Like,
yeah, so they're gonna be wearing like big clothes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spencer loves movies in that era.
Keanu Reeves apparently gives one of the worst British accents of all time as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
5 out of 5, baby. Coming up
Can't
next.
Wait. All right, cool. Dracula. It's not streaming anywhere, actually. So you guys might have to rent it. I saw this going to get added to the Criterion channel in November. So that's not helpful.
That is not helpful. Unless we go on, we don't do the podcast for 2 months. But okay. Anyways, now it's time for everybody's favorite segment
It
the
was my
show.
favorite segment.
Last week it went very poorly, and I apologize, but I've learned from it. It's time for mainstream trivia.
It's time for the answers. You know this fact. For the questions I'm about to ask, like,
What is the capital of Bolivia? It's mainstream boy
trivia.
Yeah. So this is Mainstream Boy Trivia. This game will consist of a variety of trivia questions derived from yours truly, and each game will feature a new topic that each question will be in the spirit of. Spencer and Nate will buzz in trying to guess the correct answer. First dude to 3 points wins the coveted honor of being named Mainstream Boy of the Week. Sound good? What is the current standings right now? I believe it is
Spencer
2-1.
is winning.
2-1 Spencer. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. We already know how to play. But this week's topic is going to be
Arnold.
superhero movies.
It's very fit in for Spooktober. Okay.
I wasn't really thinking about what was coming up, and that it was Spooktober at all. But each question will be in relation to a superhero flick. First year, 3 questions correct will be Mainstream Boy of the Week. Are you ready to get started?
Ready as I'm ever going to be.
I'm ready for 5 movies I've probably never seen.
No, I did.
You've seen a good amount of
in.
superhero films.
It went poorly last time, but anyway. Ducky, what's going to be your buzz-in word?
Should we do the chat because of delays and stuff?
We can. I'll allow it. I'll allow the chat. Yeah.
Do the chat unless no one's saying anything and it's just a long pause and you just want to say something. Then you can verbally say it.
I'll do the chat, but don't give me an answer until I call your name, as if I've seen it in the chat. So in case there's a delay there as well. Okay.
Cool.
All right. First question. Here we go. Question 1. In the 2017 Wonder Woman film, what character that stems from Greek mythology is the big bad villain Diana must fight at the end of the movie? Nate?
Was it Ares?
That's correct. You did.
It's been. I just remember the guy who played Professor Lupin in Harry Potter. Forget what his name is.
It's David something.
David Lynch.
David something. Yeah.
David Lynch.
David Tulin.
You got it, Nate. That was perfect. You did it. That's the correct answer.
It's all downhill from here, folks.
Nate leading 1-0. Question 2. Which one of these films is not in the top 10 best reviewed superhero movies on Rotten Tomatoes? Iron Man, Black Panther, Wonder Woman, or Guardians of the Galaxy? Not Spencer.
Iron Man.
Incorrect.
Shit. Sorry.
That's okay. Nate?
Black Panther?
That is incorrect.
Look, I can guess the scores. I guarantee. Black Panther's like at a 93. Wonder Woman's got to be 93 as well. Guardians of the Galaxy, it's probably the answer at like 92.
Okay, well,
then Iron Man's probably 90.
Are you giving an answer or are we not giving an answer?
I think we both answered.
We already answered. We got them both wrong.
Will you? Okay. All right. Well, the correct answer is Guardians of the Galaxy at number 17 of all the superheroes.
Still got it like at 93% though, I think.
It's up there. It's up there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Nate's still leading 1-0. Here we go. Question 3. Which one of these Marvel movies should be watched first if you were watching them in chronological order? Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Ant-Man, or Captain America Civil War? Nate?
Ant-Man?
That is correct. It is Ant-Man. Nate, yeah.
Well, only it's never mind.
One step closer to being Mainstream Boy of the Week. Come on, I need more excitement from you. I'm trying. We're
no,
doing
because I like to explain my reasoning, but I talk too much anyway. So let's move forward.
That's a good point. Okay, moving on to question number
Whoa.
4. Spencer can still win if he gets all 3 remaining questions. Okay. Question 4.
But if I don't get this one, if Nate gets this one correct, are we done?
Well, yeah, then we have palate cleanser
Possible-
round because I
okay.
made these questions and we're going to do them regardless of what you want to do.
That's what I was afraid of. All right.
It's
Go ahead,
like
we
in the
go.
World Series, you need 4 games to win, but you play all 7 just for kicks.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Can you imagine?
That'd be insane.
Hey, we
Okay, here
swept
go.
them, but you know what? Let's play 3 more just because.
We have the minor league come in and play instead.
Oh my god. Okay, here we go. Question 4. This is serious. Which one of these Marvel characters was not dusted at the end of Avengers Infinity War? Doctor Strange, Falcon, Mantis, or Gamora? Whoa, okay, those flew in really fast. It looks like Nate got it first, though.
Gamora?
That is correct. It is Gamora. Fuck. All right.
It was between her and Mantis because, yeah, I think.
Yeah, no. Doctor Strange, Falcon, and Mantis all died, and then Gamora didn't get dusted. She died earlier in the movie.
Did they?
So,
I don't remember seeing Mantis go. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, I
definitely.
do. Yes, I do, because she has her
It
little.
was a true
Oh, no.
question. Yeah.
it was a trick question. Yeah, because they all died, but she didn't get dusted.
I
Wow.
gotcha.
So Nate wins. That's fun.
All right.
Um,
So it's
we
tie
just
game
wanna-
now.
Tie
Yeah,
game.
this is for fun. We need to get the podcast to a minute or an hour 37. So here we go. Question 6. Wait, what? Was that question 4?
Yes, it was because
Happened.
you must have just made it 6 instead of.
Okay, well, it's just so easy, and I can always
Question
fuck it up.
6. All right.
All right. Other than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, what is the only other MCU movie to receive a Rotten Tomatoes rotten rating? A rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Spencer?
Well, it says Ducky, but it's
Ducky?
the Eternals.
Oh, there were multiple choice. I didn't.
I don't need it.
forgot. Was it Thor? Yeah, it's the Eternals. That's correct.
I was gonna say Dark World. I was just happy it was an answer.
If only if it was like Schmodown rules where multiple choice, that's 1 point, but if you don't use multiple choice, you get 2 points. Good tie
What
the
happened
game.
to the Schmodown? Is that still a thing?
COVID, I think. Just shut them down.
Oh, well, that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but
Cool.
it
Well,
was
that
fun
was
to
an
watch.
anticlimactic ending to the show, and I wish we could cut it out, but we can't. So here we are. It's a tie game with mainstream boy trivia. I don't know how I'm going to do it with horror stuff next time, but it's probably going to end up being Pitch Perfect trivia.
Oh, that's basically a horror.
It's a real life
Yeah,
horror movie for you guys.
Close.
But yeah, anything you guys want to say before we
Throw it in the oven.
That's it.
First time this episode, and I'm glad it.
I
came
can't believe it
because I
didn't
wasn't
happen yet.
expecting
That's
it.
crazy.
I can't
Throw it in
believe
the
it's,
oven.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Thanks for watching, listening. Hit that follow button. Hit the plus button in the upper right-hand corner, Apple Podcasts, if you're there. That way you never miss an episode. Subscribe on YouTube, all that stuff at ThoseMovieDudes on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
I think on our list. I think they should be. Okay.
Yeah, I can't hear you because of
Poison.
the music.
Watch out for that snake. Watch out for that shit. Uh-oh, rat catcher. Oh no. I'm Ray Fiennes. I'm gonna poison some rats.
Ray Fiennes is incredible in those shorts. Oh my god. So good.
I haven't seen them yet.
He probably won't.
And don't
not
mind
going
this,
to.
like, I know we're getting to the end of the podcast, but if you watch real carefully, Ray Fiennes is sitting in his chair and he's wearing pajamas and it just shows his bulge.